Hey everybody, Sean here from the Blood, Guts, and Paper Cuts podcast, and I am so excited to announce today's guest, and that's none other than Rene Rivas, filmmaker extraordinaire. Look, I'm going to cop to it. We had Rene on a couple months ago, but I goofed up the recording. That's on me. I reached out to Rene, and he was so incredibly cool. And just without even hesitating said, yeah, let's get back in there. We had so much fun the first time. Let's have even more fun this time. And we do. We have a great conversation about his short film Rejected. Rene has done multiple short films, The Tent, Judy, Spirit of Haddonfield. We're gonna mention it in this conversation that he's working on his first feature length, which is, as of now, it's titled Grunge. He's going to tell you what that's all about. We are so excited to see this thing on the big screen. But we're talking about Rejected here today, and what's going on with the film, the impact that it's having, the awards that it's winning, where it's going to end up. We hint at it because it's still in the process of some really big news. So this conversation is going to be a little teaser, but you're going to have a lot of fun with it. Please check out Rene Rivas Productions. You can find that link in the show notes below. We need to support Rene, and we need to support filmmakers like Rene. Indie creatives, whether you're the director or the writer, or you're doing set design or costume design or whatever the hell it may be, we need to support these voices that are working. They're really grinding it out, and they're putting incredible things together on shoestring budgets, and they're just want eyes on it. So anyway, look, this is me. Check this out. I got off my soapbox. But that's what we're all about here at Blood, Guts, and Paper Cuts. We want to support voices, creative voices, and we always will. And that's the fun of it. We have such a great time with Rene in this conversation. He is cool as hell, and we can't wait to have him back on. And Rene, I know you agreed to it, but we're going to be annoying at this point because you're just such a great guy, and we truly enjoy having you with us. So let me shut my yapper, and then you can all hear what Rene has to say. Everybody, Rene Rivas. Enjoy.
Breaks. This is the new Blood, Guts, and Paper Cuts podcast, formerly the Simple Cuts podcast, but now you can actually type it out and find it. So
everything's spelled correctly,
Yeah.
There's no hyphen, it's just commas. And if you sound it out, your basic English, you know where those commas go. So
I'm glad that we're relaunching the podcast because it gives me a chance to correct a mistake that I made previously. We have got filmmaker extraordinaire Rene Rivas with us tonight. His short film Rejected was one that we had watched previously and absolutely fell in love with. It is so much fun, and we'll get to that. We'll certainly get to that. But I have to let all of our listeners know what happened. So, Rene came on months ago. Was kind enough to come on months ago, and we had a great conversation, talked about the film, and at that moment, I think it was getting festival play, and you were submitting it, and now months later we kind of have some great news. I'm not going to step on Rene's thunder. He's going to tell everybody about that, but I'm kind of glad that I fucked up and I don't know technology well, and I'm a goofball, because we got the chance to have Rene come back, and we're going to talk about the film again. But the great thing is we're kind of going to, it's like a time machine. We're going to go forward in time, and we're going to find out where the film is now and how it's been received. And, no spoilers, but I think everybody's going to really enjoy that story. So Rene, thank you so much for being here again.
yes, thank you.
I said it once and I'll say it again. We will rebuild.
Yeah.
We had a great time chopping it up last time, but I'm always happy to, chop it up with you guys. It's always a blast talking.
And we're always so happy to have you back. Yeah. So this is great.
Well, it's great to be back. Thank you for having me now on the Blood and Guts and Paper Cuts podcast.
Yes.
It's a learning curve for everybody, but we'll get there.
All right, so Shannon, we'll embarrass Rene, and we'll reiterate our love fest for Rejected. So Renee was kind enough to send this film to us, the short film. We're not going to spoil anything, but boy, howdy, is there a body count in this film, and we'll get to it. But you have to watch it yourselves to see the mayhem that takes place. I had told Renee previously, when I watched it, one thing just kept, flashing out to me, which is that this would be such an incredible segment, or segments plural, to the VHS franchise. I loved the energy to it. I love the gore and the practical. The script is fun and funny, which, those are two very different things. Something could be fun, and that's great. You get like a vibe, but this is a damn funny film. It really is.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you acknowledging that, because this was... Rejected was the first time my team and I had really stepped into the horror parody sandbox. Like, I did a really small scale parody on the Skinamarink film like 6 months prior, but this was really Rejected was really committing to, hey, let's merge horror and comedy and just give it a crack and see if we can stick the landing. And I'm pretty excited to say it's been very well received, and it's really gratifying to sit in the audience and listen to the crowd reactions to some of these gags that we pulled off. And it's just a breath of fresh air, because essentially all the productions that we've taken on, all the short narrative productions we've taken on, have been more or less pretty serious in tone. So it was just fun to just kind of, subvert what we typically do.
Yeah. You did stick the landing for sure.
Absolutely. And throughout, you can really tell that everybody had such a great time. Like I said, we're not going to give away too many spoilers here, but something you listeners can absolutely expect is, the 90s sitcom music is probably my favorite. And it totally sets a vibe completely. And then I remember I think in the very first segment, somebody's wearing that either t-shirt or shorts. I believe it was a t-shirt, where it reminded me of the Dixie cup back in the day when I attended pizza parties. It had that logo. You'll know it. You'll see it. You'll know it when you see it. Trust me. And immediately I'm like, this film's amazing. We didn't even get anywhere yet. And I just saw the vibe, and I'm like, this is going to be great. Knew I was in for a treat, and I wasn't disappointed at all. And it kept getting crazier and crazier with every segment.
Just escalate.
You raise the bar every single time. But everyone looked like they had so much fun filming it too.
We certainly, I think I can speak on behalf of the entire team. We certainly had a lot of fun, but we rolled up our sleeves and got to work, because granted, this is only a sub 15 minute short film. It's got a lot of scope packed into that 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's a pretty vast demonstration on what we're capable as a team with resources. And we worked our buns off on it, and I think it turned out really well, and it's getting some really good laughs. And it's an interesting format too, because the more that I've been attending these film festivals, people are approaching me saying, wow, it's essentially a mini anthology. And it dawned on me, when I was writing it, I didn't really think of that in mind, but at the end of the day, I guess that's really what it is. It's a mini short horror parody mini anthology that's got 3 wacky tales spoofing a 1997 digital camera.
I just love the concept. I'm going to show my age here. It reminded me so much of those Mentos commercials back in the day. but then the characters in those Mentos commercials get royally fucked up.
Yeah.
There's something so delicious about that. Renee, I'm gonna point out 2 things. First, I want to circle back to the horror comedy, because Shannon and I have talked about this previously. Within the subgenre of horror itself, horror comedy is the hardest one. In our opinion, it's the hardest one to pull off. Yeah. Because if you make a short film or a feature-length film and you lean into the scares, I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's one direction. You've got to toe the line, and you have to have 2. You got to hit beats on 2 different fronts, and it is really challenging. So kudos, sir. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke when I say that you stick the landing. I laughed out loud at this damn film.
Well, it's great to hear that, because as mentioned, you know, as a writer and director myself, it's truly important to continually challenge yourself and step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And you know, we've all heard for many, many years that comedy is probably one of the hardest genres to write in, and to do it, you know, to get that comedic timing right. And it was just fun to merge horror into it and just kind of have a splatter fest and have a roller coaster that's going to make you chuckle and it's going to make you cringe. And Rejected delivers the whole package. I think, you know, it's been touring the festival circuit for, I think, about 5 months at this point.
Great.
And it's been very well received, and it's very gratifying to see the fruits of the team's efforts and to see these gags in the horror and comedy amalgamation kind of work. So
yeah, you balanced it really, really well. You know, because as much as it's funny, there's definitely a lot. Like I said, I know we're not trying to spoil anything, but there is a good amount of gore with fantastic makeup effects.
That's not a spoiler. That's a teaser.
That is it. Okay. Yes. But
Yes.
but for some reason, it is absolutely hilarious.
You know, for those that have not seen it, I'm going to give you a slight little spoiler. And, you know, I mentioned previously that we pack a lot of scope into this 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, you're going to get 7 brutal deaths. And, you know, it's compact, it's lean, it's mean, and you know, we put a lot of emphasis into packaging to make it because we haven't acknowledged yet that it's a period piece and it takes place in 1997. So we put a lot of time and effort into art direction, production design, wardrobe, everything, what have you, to make it feel as authentic as it could, to feel 1997, and to talk a little bit about the post processing. Like, while I did do some digital VFX work to degrade the red footage, I also dubbed the film back onto a VHS tape and then ingested that footage and merged them together. So it was like a happy balance of digital meets analog glitches, which I have to tip my hat to director David Bruckner, who was a part of the VHS franchise, for inspiring me to want to do that. But you know, Rejected, it's just, it's the newest, it's the latest and greatest, and I'm super proud of it, super proud of the team. And, you know, we just had festival screenings so last month I traveled to 3 different states for the film. Initially, we went to the Hollywood Horror Fest, where we won, what did we win? Best Horror Parody.
Yeah.
And then we went
fantastic.
to Nightmares Film Festival in Ohio. And then recently I just got back from Film Quest Film Festival in Provo, Utah.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, you know, we got a good handful of months left. Probably about a half year left in the festival circuit, but I'm excited to say, I can't divulge just yet, but we landed a great distribution.
All right.
A great distribution home for the film to land on. It's a platform that I've eagerly anticipated to be on for many years, and they reached out to us and said that we saw your film at Nightmares, and we'd love to talk about having your film on our platform.
Oh,
and
that's amazing.
Right?
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like, these are short films, and it's like, okay, we made this great film. Now, what are we going to do with it? What's the landing page for it? So we found a great home for it, and we're going to be announcing here pretty soon where folks can actually see the film, and I'm excited for what home that we landed on.
Rene, will you do us a favor when you can make that announcement, when you get the green light? Will you please let us know, and we'll put it all over our socials as well, because we believe in you as a filmmaker. You're a great dude. You've made a fantastic film. We're excited to see what you're going to do in the future. I really do feel like this is this is a great calling card. I think it's going to open up a lot of doors for you. And I want to acknowledge, you're kind enough to keep mentioning your crew, but you led the way. The camera work, the lighting, the acting, the set design, the practical. it all comes together, and it really does make this fantastic little gem. And the fact that I want to point out the screenplay, though, because to your point, you do have a mini anthology here. You've got 3 stories happening, within 15 minutes. Now that script's got to be tight as hell, to really land. I mean, we could say, oh, okay, that script, you wrote a script that's 15 minutes long and it didn't work at all. That's easy to do, but everything worked.
That's our script that we wrote.
Shannon and I do that. We do that daily. But I mean, you wrote a 15-minute film, and everything does work. Each one of those segments, they're tight, they're compact, but they punch.
And they're different.
Yes.
They're different. Like they blend together. Like they have obviously you made like a common element, but they're all completely different, which makes it really, really interesting. Like I feel like I haven't seen anything like that since Creepshow.
I'm glad that you brought that up, and that's a good, quick little talking point. Is from the very beginning of writing the screenplay, I really wanted to jump into this production being 3 different horror subgenres. No, I can't give away what they are.
Don't.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay.
But,
just know they're different. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, they all deal with a camera mechanism, which it's more than just a MacGuffin. The camera really has a lot of. The camera is a mechanism that moves the plot forward into each one of it. It's not just like, oh, we're showing this camera and move forward and there's blood and guts. The mayhem that ensues in each one of the segments is a direct result of this camera being used. And I really try to diversify my writing to make each segment feel as different as they possibly could. Like, I guess a little bit of context would be like, the first one is definitely the darker one. There's not as much levity in it, and it's kind of a tone building. And then the second one's our zany one, and then the third one's a kind of an amalgamation of dark meets zany. And there's a lot of different genres that get thrown around in this film. I mean, there's comedy, there's horror, there's a little bit of romance, there's dread, and it's just kind of a wacky blender of mayhem, and I'm excited for people to finally see it.
Rene, what I love about it is that, and I'm not going to give anything away, I'm just going to say for the horror lovers that are listening, if you love, and I'm not saying this is in the film, I'm just going to say, if you love slashers and demonic possession and creature features and, each and every single facet of horror, you're probably going to be pretty happy with Rejected. Not saying that they're all in there or any are in there. Who knows? Who even knows? We could be. It could be mostly a rom-com. We're not giving anything away.
Maybe there's a revenge. Maybe it's all. I don't know.
I'm just saying that if we've piqued your interest, wait until you see this little gem of the film. So, Rene, you have our promise. We're going to post this after Thanksgiving, just because I want as many eyeballs on it as possible, and everyone's going to be, full of tryptophan and sleeping. So we're going to post this next week. But we're also going to repost this interview when you make the announcement. I promise you that we'll put it back on YouTube and we'll put it back on Spotify and iTunes, and we'll just, banner it with your major announcement, because we just want to celebrate the hell out of you in this film, because it's great. It's great. And we're thrilled that you're on again.
Awesome. Well, it's great to be chatting it up with you guys. This is always a blast, and happy to talk shop anytime, and happy to tell you about what's next as well.
Yeah. Can we talk about what's next, or is that still hush hush?
No, so I've been pretty open about it. At the end of the day, since about 2015, 2016 era, I did a feature film back then that finally got released. So if you want to see a scrappy, independent, black and white, 4:3 ratio, drama, thriller, noir film, go to Tubi or Amazon Prime and check out Northern.
I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah, for sure. I'll put it in the show notes.
I forgot to mention it's basically a sci-noir, so there's some sci-fi elements about a traveling photographer that has that's going through a divorce, and he deals with his divorce through unhealthy coping mechanisms, I guess is a good way to put it. So if you want to see where I was as a filmmaker almost 10 years ago, I finally released my super, super, super independent feature film called Northern. With that said, yeah, since Northern was never officially released, I did a lot of back-to-back-to-back short narratives, and I'm just feeling, after about 7, possibly 8 short films in a row, it's just time to make a feature film.
Yeah.
And I'm just feeling it. I'm feeling confident. Short films are a great platform to practice chops. And if you're going to make mistakes, make them on a short film. Don't make them on a feature film when you're dealing with, you know, people's capital and good stuff like that. So I'm finally feeling confident enough where it's just like, all right, let's roll up our sleeves and let's make a feature film and make it as terrific as it can be. So the next feature, or the project that's currently in development, is titled Grunge.
Ooh, okay.
And it takes place circa 1992, and it follows a independent rock band that has a rising single in the charts. And this rock band gets approached by Interscope Records, but it's Outer Scope Records in our script. And they get signed by the label, and ultimately the label approaches them to not only be signed as an artist, but to produce the band's first music video that's going to debut on MTV's Headbangers Ball, which in our script is MVT, Music Video Television's Head Slammers Bash.
I love it.
Just to avoid intellectual property. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it's about a band that gets handed a silver spoon, and they have everything lining up to them until disaster strikes. And the band continually makes bad decision after bad decision, which ends in blood, it ends in mayhem. And I mean, at its core, it's a revenge story, but it's very rooted in thick, dread-induced suspense with some horror tropes peppered in. I mean,
all right.
And it stems from, you know, I played in a touring rock band for about 5 years in my 20s, so there's a lot of me in the script, aside from all the felonies and blood and carnage. But yeah, you know, it's a feature story about a rock band that fucks up, and they have a choice to make the right decision, but they make the wrong decision, which turns into a Murphy's Law catastrophic domino effect of just like what can go wrong will go wrong. And there's a very large dose of high potency LSD peppered throughout the narrative. So it's a psychedelic horror. It's a psychedelic suspense horror thriller, and
you had us at LSD.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's the way I've been pitching it. You know, I'm a huge fan of Jeremy Saulnier, and I absolutely fell in love with Green Room.
Oh hell yeah!
When I saw it, so there's definitely a lot of me tipping my hat to Green Room. The way I've been pitching the feature is it's an amalgamation of Green Room meets Good Time with Robert Patterson, mm-hmm. and meets a splash of Mandy. So it's just like
cool. Okay,
all right.
It's like a series of escalating actions that just get worse and worse and worse and worse, and it keeps the audience just like, what the fuck is going to happen next with these people? You know, like come on. So we're in development right now, and there's some pretty exciting things brewing that I can't say. I'll let you guys know after the fact. But yeah, we're currently in development to shoot a 3-minute proof of concept investor pitch trailer.
Okay.
And I've never personally done a pitch trailer before, but personally I feel like I'm going to have more leverage when I'm doing these pitch sessions with tentative investor groups. Like,
yeah,
I can pitch passion, I can pitch, you know, top sheets all day, but, you know, if I have a professionally produced 3-minute sizzle trailer to present to them, like, look, this is what we produced with our own resources, this is what we're trying to achieve with an actual budget. So hopefully come January, if everything lines up, we're trying to raise a little bit of private financing to do this, and maybe hopefully, knock on wood, go into production come January for the proof of concept trailer, finish that by the end of January, and then start shopping this thing around. And you know, truth be told, I saw Blood Simple for the first time like half a year ago, and it blew my fucking mind.
Oh, it's the best.
Blood Simple is just, it's masterclass. It's But long story short, I then did some research finding out that, the Coen brothers back in late 83, they made a proof of concept teaser trailer for Blood Simple. They raised a little bit of money. They shot a teaser trailer and they shopped that around to eventually raise $750K. And I thought, it's a pretty common practice, making proof of concepts, but I had never done it before. And that was kind of the impetus of the whole idea of like, I want to do that. I want to present this idea in a 3-minute professionally produced trailer and make it as good as it can be to hopefully get the budget that we need to make the feature.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
I'm just ready. I'm like foaming at the mouth to make a feature film, and it feels Rejected's great. I'm super proud of it, but I'm the kind of filmmaker where it's just like, all right, we put the time, we put the diligence into this. I'm ready to move to the next thing.
Yeah.
I don't hold on to a project for years on end. It's just like, cool, boom, boom, boom. What's next?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is an exciting time for you, I think. And the feature film, the story, like obviously this sounds like a lot of, LSD mayhem going on as well. But what's interesting about it is that it sounds like it's kind of like rooting from a personal place, right? Like you said, like you were in a band, so you kind of know that that life a little bit. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of excited to see what you do with that and, turn it up to 11.
There you go.
Yeah, I definitely had my good times in my early 20s to late 20s, however you want to translate that. Definitely did the band life. And can I actually tell you the story of what inspired this feature?
Of course. Absolutely.
I have the rock band background for 5 years being a drummer and touring with a band, but so 2 years ago, I'm a photographer as well. And 2 years ago, I was at this really remote house location in, it's 2 hours east of Flagstaff, Arizona. I can't remember the exact city. But anyways, a band that I've been friends with for about a decade now, I think I've done 4 or 5 of their music videos. They approached me, they're like, we want to hire you to do a music video or a photo shoot for us. And long story short, I drove out to this location, ended up staying for a couple nights. And at the end of the first night, we're wrapping up after the photo shoot. And mind you, this location is it's not like a regular home. Each house or each room in the home has a specific theme of decade. Like this room looks 1950s. This room looks 1970s.
That's pretty cool.
And it's just a beautiful location. Talena, she's done a really good job to make it just have a lot of production value. So we're standing in the kitchen after the photo shoot, and one of my buddies dropped something on the ground, and instinctually I reached down and grab it. He's like, "Don't touch that! Don't touch that!" And I look down, and it's a vial. And he goes up and looks at it and inspects it and grabs it. He's like, "This is a vial of acid, and if it was cracked, you could have just gotten 30 to 40 hits of acid on your hand."
Oh my god!
And then like the light bulb went off, and I was like, I remember telling the band right then and there, I was like, I'm gonna write a script about this.
If it did happen.
If it did happen. So the very next morning, I woke up 9 a.m.
What could happen?
Sat on the front porch, drank my cup of coffee, and wrote the treatment to what was the original idea, which now has been expanded into
that's
draft.
Great.
So yeah, that was the idea of like almost picking up a vial of acid that could have had a crack in it, but didn't.
I can't wait to see this friggin' movie. I can't wait to see it.
As with any film in the genre, we've seen other iterations of like rock band movies, but I'd like to tell my version of it.
Yeah, as you should.
Rejected's my interpretation of parody horror. Judy is my interpretation of narratives of the occult. Spirit of Haddonfield was my homage, tip of the hat to John Carpenter's Halloween. The Tent is like its own self-contained Twilight Zone episode. Now with a feature film, I want to build my chair.
Yeah.
That is ultimately about a rock band that fucks up and all hell breaks loose, and It's got a very, very bleak ending, super bleak. A happy, albeit bleak ending.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
You have to keep us updated, Rene. You got to keep us updated along the way of what's happening here. I want to know when the reel's complete, and just let us know the progress, and we'll post it. I mean, we'll be more than happy to post it. Yeah, we want to go on this crazy LSD ride with you.
Woo!
Seriously.
It's a trip.
Well, it
No
sounds
pun
like there's well, look, there's great things happening right now with Rejected. It looks like there's so many great things on the horizon for you as well. I can't wait. We're sending all the good vibes out, but I don't say this just to say it. We've seen your work. We know the skill that you have. There's no doubt in my mind that this movie is going to happen. So we're really, really excited. But the door's always open for you, my friend. You come back anytime you want. You promote anything that you want, and we're just always going to be here for you.
Well, I really appreciate it, Sean and Shannon. It's always a great time chopping it up with you guys, and hopefully we can garner some interest on the feature film so that we can actually get this thing made and use Rejected as a business card. I mean, ultimately this is art that we're creating, but I've typically considered the short narratives that I take on as the latest business card.
Yeah.
Of this is what we're capable of. If we were under a legitimate budget, think about what we could do then.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not, I mean, it's not the first time that's ever happened. I mean, that Saw was a quick short. I mean, when they were pitching Saw, they decided to do one scene to showcase, and that's how that got made. Like they were in the air in the plane, landed, and not knowing that the producers already wanted to sign on, and that I think one of the head producers sent it to Carrie Elvis. So that's one. Smile was a short film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll tell you about it after the interview, but there's a chain of events that have kind of happened since Film Quest and Nightmares that would have never happened if I didn't produce Rejected first. Like, Rejected has opened up some pretty cool doors that are currently in development for the feature.
Excellent.
So exciting.
So it's like, hopefully the building blocks are stacking, and we can, start cranking on grunge, psychedelic suspense thriller with horror tropes.
And what we'll do, by having you on Blood, Guts, and Paper Cuts, and then putting this on YouTube and putting it on iTunes and Spotify, is that we'll get as many ears and eyes on you. And then hopefully, this is what we do, we just network and try and make things happen. And, you do it in your world, Rene, all the time, and we'll do it in our world, and, we'll try and make some magic happen for you.
Well, I really appreciate it, y'all. I mean, it's fun to connect, and it's fun to, see how we all go on our respective journeys. And hopefully what's next for my journey is making a feature film, and then, sharing the journey with everybody involved and everybody following. And
you'll have to
make some movies.
Let's make some movies.
You'll have to come back on again to promote that. And I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for all of our listeners, but you got two people right here. That's a movie I want to see.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wait till people hear this. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen. Good vibes.
Rene, thank you so much for coming on. So Rejected, we'll wait on the announcement, the exciting announcement of the distribution for that, and then we will just blast that all over. And then, just keep us updated on the feature film. So excited for you.
Yes.
I would say for release date for Rejected, early Q1 25.
That's right around the corner. I mean, it's
really
literally right around the corner. Oh, exciting. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Rene, until we see you again, and we will definitely see you again, Sean and Shannon and Rene from the Blood, Guts, and Paper Cuts podcast. Take care, everybody.
That's
Thanks
a
for
cut.
having me.
Hey there! You just finished the latest episode of Blood, Guts, and Paper Cuts. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. We honestly do this for you, and we appreciate your time. I hope we entertained you. If we did, can we ask a huge favor? Would you be kind enough to go to iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, rate and review us. It's how we get our tiny little horror name out there and get our silly face in front of everyone and our silly little voices in everyone's ears. But we do it from a place of love, and we would really appreciate your support in doing this. You can follow us also on YouTube at Blood Guts and Paper Cuts Podcast, and on Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky, and you can find us there at SeanOC32. That's at SeanOC32. We really appreciate your time. Like I said, I hope you were entertained. Can't wait to see you back here in a day or two. Take care.